Good afternoon, everyone, or good morning. My name is Irene from Infection Control Department. I would like to welcome you again on my live stream review topic discussion. This is my last 2 days ago. I will add some information regarding on my topic, the antimicrobial stewardship program and antibiogram. Before that, I will share to you again the slides. And you will see. Okay. This is the slides that I presented to you last 2 days ago, and we'll start sharing it. Now this is my topic last 2 days ago. Now I will share it to you with a full screen because the last time I didn't share it. This is the last. The next will be the anti-Viagra. This is the last 2 days ago. This is my anti-Viagra presented by Dr. Rasana with objectives. What is anti-Viagra? What does it mean? What is the hospital anti-Viagra? And why we need an anti-Viagra? The hospital-associated infections can be monitored with antivirals. We need better methods to monitor antibiotic therapy. Wrong antivirals add to MDR strains. Need multi-drug resistant strains. Antivirals are also used to combat drug resistance. How to begin our work with antivirals? Then mechanism in testing the antivirals. Interpreting an antiviral. What is susceptible to immediate, to resistant, how we express the results, the tabulations, example tested, E. coli, document antivirals, beautiful, unit. All the documented results are analyzed in WHO 90. How to modernize hospital antivirals. Antivirals help for taking decisions and on empiric antibiotics. The future of antivirals, mobile applications, on iPhone and iPad, and then that's the any questions. And this discussed by my colleague Dr. Okay, I will continue with additional information for this topic because there's stuff asking for it. Okay, that another information for this is to provide the process governing the ASP, your antimicrobial stewardship program, and proper antimicrobial prescribing. I'm looking for the my projector. It's applicable for all, for whom, for the all conditions, health administrators, personnel involved with the proper utilization of antimicrobials in hospitals and affiliated facilities. The other additional informations for some information, the diagram summarizes the cumulative proportions of pathogenic organisms that are susceptible to particular antimicrobials. This provides a profile of the susceptibilities of the specific pathogenic bacteria to antimicrobial agents tested in routine clinical microbiology practice. ASP. ASP is your antimicrobial stewardship program. It refers to the systematic approach to optimizing antimicrobial therapy through a variety of structure and interventions. Promotes not only limiting uh, inappropriate use, but also optimizing antimicrobial selections. The dosing, the route, and durations of therapy to maximize clinical cure or preventions of infections, while limiting the unintended consequences, such as emergence resistance, adverse drug events, and unnecessary costs. Antimicrobial stewardship team is a hospital-based team of experts in the field of infectious diseases responsible in monitoring the appropriateness of antimicrobial usage composed, but not limited to the following: uh, who consultant infectious diseases, clinical pharmacies, infection control prevention coordinator, and the last one is the representative from the microbiology department. Among these that I mentioned, which one is it is the most important one? Who you will choose? This is applicable for all that I mentioned: consultant, clinical pharmacist, IPC, microbiologist. An antimicrobial stewardship committee. Why we need committee? The standing committee responsible for reviewing all Drug formulary management requests related to antimicrobial agents, wherein the compositions include physicians and pharmacists specialized in infectious diseases. Okay, the clinical pathway refers to multidisciplinary standardized plan of care describes the course of events in the treatment of patients with similar problems with a specific timeline, incidents, actions, interventions which must take place, and resources that should be used to achieve desired standards, standardized outcomes. That's why we have here what we have, what we need, what I mean. Outcomes, standardized outcomes. Must follow the rules of our protocol. DDD. This DDD. Define daily dose to assume the average maintenance dose per day for a drug use for each main indications in adults. It is a priority or not? Of course, yes. It is a priority. Why? To improve the use of antimicrobial agents with the establishment of ASP. Higher quality improvement and patient safety governance structure as well as the hospital quality and safety strategic plan. This additional information you can find it in my reference that I okay what I said. This additional information you can find it on the reference that I put below on my description box. It was written there. If you need some additional clarification or you need to add more some information regarding on my topics, I always make sure that I have reference there so that you can review for it also. And hopefully it can help to you what I have discussed. Even on my, I started this, I think, January. So I have some information also regarding some of my lectures. Okay, let's continue. The development of antibiotic guidelines and the associated clinical pathways protocols must be accordance with the existing hospital standards, policies, procedures for improving the what your appropriate use of antibiotics. The antimicrobial guidelines, the associated clinical pathways are based on internationally accepted standards. Huh? It was said based on internationally accepted standards of protocols. Practice in clinical practice guidelines that incorporates relevant standards of care, protocols, and procedures. The associated clinical pathways must include clinical pathway must include disclaimer and waiver of liability statements that recommendation given by antimicrobial stewardship team are meant to serve as guidelines only and not intended to replace good clinical judgments. It assumes no responsibility for any injury or damage resulting from the reliance thereof. The Antimicrobial Stewardship Committee on each hospital monitor the compliance upon the recommendations of the ESD and ensures the following. Establish antimicrobial order tools for restricted antimicrobials by antimicrobial stewardship committee for endorsement by the antimicrobial stewardship team. Okay. Okay, the usage are regularly conducted and reports on antimicrobial utilizations are provided to clinical departments and executive management committee. What does it mean by executive management committee? Who are they? This include your CEO, the medical team, your medical director, the head of the pharmacy, the head of the improvement project, quality, the head of the laboratory. Who else? Of course, me, infection control, and other staff concerned for the related issues. It must provide specific guidance regarding antibiotic prescribing for surgical infections and surgical prophylaxis. Yes, surgical prophylaxis. It will be topic on maybe this week and next week. In accordance with existing relevant hospital policy and procedure, it is also the functional responsibility of the antimicrobial stewardship team to assist the prescriber or clinician for better utilizations of the antimicrobial guidelines, protocols, and enhance the escalation as well as switching parenteral to oral when needed. Then conduct review under restricted antimicrobials concurrently with the guidelines in a timely manner and provide feedback on improving utilization with the assistance of microbiology department ensures that antibiograms are prepared on biannual basis to determine which antimicrobial is best against a strains of infection. Sorry, because all clinicians and practitioners involved antimicrobial ordering, dispensing, administrations, and monitoring antimicrobial resistance and antimicrobial stewardship practices must be properly educated and trained upon hiring to be granted initial privileges. Yes, on my orientation, if you are new, example, you are you are belong to the new staff, is included in my orientation. The staff health program regarding antimicrobial practices, especially for nurses. And I would like to address to all, especially now we have new staff, to be aware of this program. That's why I do it the second review. And this link will be recorded. Also physicians. Physicians with prescribing privileges must conform with the provisions stipulated in the hospital policies and procedures for prescribing antimicrobial agents. Prescribing physicians are provided with seminars or training conferences in order to be updated in the hospital therapeutic guidelines, policies, and the procedures. Prescribing physicians ensure that authorizations is obtained from restricted drug physicians in accordance with the approved antimicrobials guidelines. The director or acting director of the infection prevention and control will allocate adequate resources in terms of manpower and time for dedicated antimicrobial stewardship team. High-performing staff will be assigned, endorsed by director or acting director, IBCA, to the antimicrobial stewardship team. IBC will endorse the annual ASD activities, review the progress of the antimicrobial stewardship team, identify the barriers, and provide advices on specific stewardship related cases and issues. Let's continue. It consists of the following. I mentioned already some of these points on the last 2 days. Consultant infectious diseases will serve as a team leader and perform the following: to provide expert advice, educate prescribers, and play a major role in the development and implementation of antimicrobial policy and prescriptions guidelines. The on-call infectious diseases consultant will provide expert advice on antimicrobial stewardship activities. These antimicrobial stewardships, clinical outcome measures, and quality improvement were in the outcome measurements. include but not limited to the following: antimicrobial resistance prevalence rate, the antimicrobial defined daily dose. If this is your the limited duration of therapy, the antimicrobial cause, and the Clostridium difficile infection rate. Clinical pharmacists will perform the following: review antimicrobial orders in accordance with the antimicrobial guidelines and provide timely feedback where applicable to the prescriber. Work with and educate ward pharmacists to identify potential patients for stewardship interventions. IV2 oral switch. Ensure dose optimization is carried out especially for complex antimicrobials in complex clinical scenarios. First, the approval system of restricted antimicrobials collects and analyzes local consumption and expenditure, leads and conducts appropriate antimicrobials audits, provide timely feedback for future improvement, and surrounds with the antimicrobial stewardship team. Provide guidance in measure selections, data collections, analysis, validations of measurement data, and the process measurements, which include the following: percent of compliance with the antimicrobial stewardship program recommendations, IV to oral switching rate. Infection control preventionist coordinator will perform the following: again, the infection control preventionist coordinator will perform the following: yours truly will prepare surveillance and outlet reports. Obtain in timely provisions of data as required by the program. Ensures complete filing of the forms whenever applicable. Provide help in organizing the administrative and educational activities. Clinical microbiologists will perform or should perform this following: the following provision of timely and accurate reporting of culture and antimicrobial susceptibility data. Prepare antibiogram on biannual basis. every 6 months. Work closely with attending clinicians, infectious diseases specialists, and antimicrobial pharmacists in the management of patients with infections. Ensure to adopt new technology to or advances in microbiological identification and susceptibility testing. Pre-authorization system for restricted antimicrobials is the next that I want to review for you. Pre-authorization system for restricted um, antimicrobials. Before this informations, I want to share again this one. Okay, let's continue. What is it? The last, the free authorization system for restricted antimicrobials. Each hospital has to have a restricted antimicrobial policy where specific uh, antimicrobials would be restricted by specific physicians in each hospital. If a physician is not privileged to prescribe an antibiotic, he has to go over the required steps to obtain authorizations. And initiations of treatment, the prescribing physician will provide a clinical rationale for antimicrobial initiations. The prescribing physician will send the appropriate specimens to diagnostics microbiology before the administrations of antimicrobials. You will select the antimicrobial according to the guidelines. When prescribing restricted antimicrobial, the prescribing physician has to communicate with the antimicrobial stewardship team in a timely manner to obtain the authorizations. And then, upon contacting antimicrobial stewardship team, the prescribing physicians will be able to provide detailed clinical status of the patients, indications for antimicrobial therapy drug, allergies, and microbiology. Antimicrobial stewardship team member will respond to the prescribing physicians. In a timely manner, this continue to discuss the case with the prescribing physician, and on the basis of the information provided, may recommend the use of restrictive agents or recommend an alternative therapeutic options or recommended further investigations or clinical follow-up. Targeted restricted antimicrobials require approval within 24 hours for non-ICU orders and within 72 hours for ICU orders. If you remember, I mentioned this on my sample forms for the restricted antimicrobial orders. This hospital will design a mechanism for timely, efficient antimicrobial approval. The antimicrobial stewardship team service and then approve. Sorry. Okay, let's continue. Sorry guys, because my voice. Approvals during the weekends will require authorizations from the on-call infectious disease consultant or their designee. Clinical pharmacists in each clinical unit will identify patients in need for antimicrobial stewardship program intervention and help in making appropriate clinical decisions with the antimicrobial stewardship team. Sorry guys, because my voice is something different now. Compliance with the pre-authorizations or pre-approval process will be audited on a regular basis. Okay. And then it have also antimicrobial review and prescriber feedback. It will review and provide feedback of the unit level, sample in the wards with antimicrobial usage, or the CU, hematology units, etc. Okay, in prescribing decisions during continuations of treatment, it will monitor the antimicrobial drug levels as required by the hospital policy and ensure daily considerations of the escalations, the intravenous oral suites are stopping the antimicrobials. But based on clinical picture and the what you will base on the laboratory results. Point of care intervention. Sorry. Antimicrobial stewardship team will provide direct feedback to the prescriber and opportunity to educate clinicians on how to prescribe. Point of care interventions will be determined by the executive management and experts, which include but is not limited to the following: reviewing appropriateness of choice of antimicrobial and eliminating dual therapy. Direct therapy based on microbiological studies. The dose optimizations, parenteral to oral conversions, therapeutic drug monitoring, automatic stop orders, and appropriateness of time of initiations of antibiotics therapy with respect to time of surgery or prophylactic use and with respect to time of cultures for therapeutic use. The Information Services and Informatics divisions are required by the AST. It will provide access to the hospital information system, the EMR. Yeah. This is the electronic medical records, software and hardware support as well. Support in maintaining electronic files records. ASDP, access to the patient's EMR will be initiated by completing the EMR form. Okay. The responsibility of infection prevention and control, the medical services, and other related departments to implement and monitor the provisions stipulated. These include your restricted antimicrobial order for guidance. Now, the Quality and Patient Safety Department, the Quality Management Department, hmm, in which hospital? Responsible for monitoring compliance to all the provisions stipulated herein. Hmm? Sorry. That's why we have the restricted antimicrobial order. And this I mentioned, I explained this last 2 days. The restricted antimicrobial order. Hmm? There is part 1, part 2, part 3. Yes, the last 2 days. The sample form that I discussed to you. What is that? Is your restricted antimicrobial order. As I said, there is part 1, part 2, part 3. And the part 1 to be completed by the prescribing physician. I'm looking the big projector. Okay. Yes. Okay. And part 1 to be completed by prescribing physicians. And then you will mention all antibiotics that need to be restricted. Example of this is your vancomycin. In the sample form, infectious disease consultant is required. Must write the diagnosis, for example, patient there is pneumonia. Then next, the justification of restricted antimicrobial use. Comparing culture, guided treatment, including the source, and the organism and sensitivities. Okay. Then culture sent prior to antibiotics initiation, you must take yes or no. Type culture, CSF or hospital. In culture, you must include the occasion. Then if it's body fluids, you will specify it. Then prescriber contacted antimicrobial team. What is this? Is this verbal? And then you will take the approval or not approved. Not approval alternatives recommended. Need to have recommendations. Then person contacted. Prescribe did not contact the ASPD. You need please to contact the ASPD with 24 hours. For non-ICU, and 72 hours for ICU. Then we will sign, of course, the one who will sign is the prescribing physician, and then you will write the designee. Must be attached with it, the name in signature. Then the number, and of course, don't forget the date and time. Will be included on this. The nurses must sign her name and signature, the badge number, and then date and time. Then we will send form to who? We will send this. We need to send the form. In part 2, it's to be completed by AST, the antimicrobial stewardship tip. Yes. You will tick the box, approve antimicrobials, then you will write the approved durations. Next in line will be the conditions. And for non-approved antimicrobials, you will specify what is the reason, of course, why not approved. And don't forget, don't leave it blank. For those filing any documentation for filing the form, write it completely, what they ask. And then part 2, you will sign the consultant designate name and signature, date and time also. This is the last, the part 3, to be completed by clinical pharmacy. he will take the prescriber accepted the ASP recommendation, the antimicrobial stewardship. And then prescriber did not accept the antimicrobial stewardship program recommendation. Accept or not, you will choose which one. And then the last rule is your infectious disease team consultant. Must be consulted the infectious disease. This concerns from per on your laboratory department. Then, but who will be signing? Of course, the pharmacist, because this is part 3 and the part of clinical pharmacist. You will sign also the name and signature, the batch number, the date and time. And then, is there any comments you need to put on the another box tabulations for the comments? ASP team clinical pharmacist comments, huh? Then signature. Okay. A patient with a life-threatening condition due to suspected infection can receive prompt antimicrobial dose without what? Waiting for the approval. The evidence base of symptoms. Okay, this is clear. Number 1. The sample form, who are they? The important to be included. Prescribing physician, signatory. Next is your consultant. Of course, in prescribing, the nurse should be included to be signed also. And then next, the consultant. And the last one is the pharmacist. Okay. Now, hoping this information help us to understand what is antimicrobial stewardship program. And the next time that I will prepare for next week because I already have the prophylaxis, antimicrobial surgical prophylaxis. And with me, my co-speaker next week also is Dr. Rosana. And the whole team of laboratory will join me. The last, when I have lecture the last 2 days, they are already prepared, but I told them they are already will join to me, and they are already in the backstage, but because of the running out of time. So on this my episode lecture next week, they will be with us. hoping you will review topics for today. It is understandable to anyone concerned. As I said, if you need some further information or details for the clarifications for this topic, I have references that I put in the description box there. And for today, hope you learned from it some points. Hopefully it will be helpful. And thank you for watching. See you on my next lecture. Another topics. And it will go on to continue. And I will continue. And as I told, I did that now. I did not appear on the last, I think 3 weeks or 2 weeks. I think 3 weeks. Because of some of my appointments and also for my preparations for, because the last month I had survey, so I need prepare my documentations for all, to prepare for all my department. Hopefully next video also with us. Now my it's now clear. I see it in the screen. Okay. And sorry for the in the middle of my discussion. I don't know, my voice become irritated. And because I don't have water here, I forgot my water off there. So I will go back to my office to continue my work. This is it for today. My name is Irene. And thank you for watching. See you on my next episode live stream.